Hello and welcome to yet another video. In this video, we will be talking about a very interesting piece of content, which is something called arrays. So ARRAY is the spelling of an array, and it is actually a very important part of programming in general. Arrays is not just associated with Java, it is associated with any programming in general. Arrays is a concept, it is a data structure which is not specific towards Java. It is or it can be used in any programming language. Like I said, it is a concept which can be used in any programming language. So the things that we will be learning today about arrays will be exactly the same in other programming languages as well, because it is a concept which can be implemented according to the programming language just the way we want to. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to talk about arrays. So an array is nothing but a collection of items, which are collection of items. Let's talk about it like this. An array is a collection of items. So if you remember, at the very start of the project, we had learned about data types, right? We had learned about primitive data type. Then in primitive data types, we had seen integer, boolean, byte, short, long, char, float, double. Apart from this, we have also seen something called string, which we have used so far, right? We have used something like that, right? We have also seen string args arguments, right? At the very start, we had also tried to make use of the string args, right? So all of these things are something that we have used. So for now, to explain arrays, let me just create a new class and I'll name it array. Okay, I've named it array. Now, try to focus over here. So an array is nothing, but it is a collection of items. Okay, it is a collection of items. So if I have to say collection of items, I can say it is a collection of numbers, or should I say that it is a collection of integers. Now, if I talk about collection of integers, that means that there is more than one integer, right? So I can say that, let me just create a main function. I can say that int first number is equals to 1. Okay. Then I say int second number is equals to 2. Then I can say int third number number is equals to 3. Okay, so can we say that this is also a collection of numbers? Yes, we can say that this is also a collection of numbers. But the main thing that is going to differentiate array of numbers or a list of numbers from what we have currently written on the screen is that an array is a collection of items which are stored at contiguous memory locations. Now, what is the meaning of contiguous memory location? Suppose there are 3 houses. Okay, suppose there are 3 houses. This person or this number is living in house 1. Okay, this number is living in house 2. Okay, this person is living in house 3. Okay, suppose if I create a fourth number, which is 4, this number can live anywhere actually. Let's say house 17. Okay, for example, let's say house 17. So are these three going to represent something like an array? Then the answer is yes. But is this a part of this array? Then the answer is no, because this one is not a part of contiguous memory location. So suppose if you want to talk about a group of people who are working in the same office, okay, then to basically check if any person is present or to basically find out all the people who are working in that office, you can just go to that office and see all the people, right? But let's say that all of these people are working from home. Then somebody is sitting in a different city, somebody else is sitting in a different city. Then in that case, even though all of these people are working or are from the same office, but they're not available at office. So this kind of scenario is called contiguous or non-contiguous memory location. So if all the people who are working in the same office are currently present at office, that means that they are in contiguous memory location. That is, all the people are very close to each other, right? Or even let's say that if you imagine all the people sitting one next to another, then you can say that every single person can be found in one next to another only. Okay, so that is what is the meaning of contiguous memory location. So in this case, the fourth number will not be a part of an array. Okay, so I'll just remove it. But if we write it like this, there is no guarantee that all of these 3 numbers will be allocated contiguous memory allocation. Okay, it is no guarantee that each of these 3 numbers will be given a contiguous memory, because it totally depends on Java. Java can give contiguous memory and cannot give contiguous memory as well. It totally depends upon Java. Okay, but if we want to tell Java that no, I want to store a list of numbers in contiguous memory allocation, then we will use something called arrays. Okay, that is the whole point of arrays. So inside an array, the idea is to store multiple items of the same type together. Okay, that is the whole point of using array. The idea of an array is to store multiple items of the same type together. This is going to make it easier for us to calculate the position of every element by simply adding an offset to the base value. That is the initial value of the address. That is the memory location of the first element. Now suppose let's say that these three numbers are sitting just next to each other. Okay, and we know that this person or this number is living in house 1. So if we want to go to the next number, we know that if we just go from house 1 to house 2, we will come to the second number. Similarly, if they are all stored in the contiguous memory allocation, if you want to go from house 2 to house 3, you can directly move towards, you can basically guess that, okay, if I want to go towards the next element, I have to go towards the next house. It is just like that. So it is going to make it easier for us to calculate the position of every element by just adding the offset to the base value. Like for example, the base value is 1 over here, and I want to calculate the second number. That is second number from the base value. So the second number from this is my base value, and my second number is 1 and then 2. So my third number is technically my second number. So I will basically add 2 to 1 and I will get 3, and I will go to house 3 in order to find the second number from the base element, which is my third number. That is how it is going to work. Okay, so the base value is index 0 and the difference between the two indices is called the offset. Okay, that is how arrays are imagined. You can also imagine an array to look something like this. So it is something like this. Multiple boxes clubbed together. Okay, so each of these boxes can contain some value, like suppose 1, then 10, then let's say -5, then let's say 7, then let's say 4, then let's say 0, then let's say -74, then let's say 10, then we can say 4, then we can say let's say 6. Okay, so an array is something like this. So this is an array of integers. That means all the information that is present inside this array are all integers only. So this one will have some base address. So let's say the base address of 1 is, let's say, 10. If the base address of 1 is 10, then the next ones will be 11. Then the next ones will be 12. Then the next ones will be 13. Then the next ones will be 14. And it will just go on and on, because it is basically nothing but a contiguous memory allocation. That is how it is like. Okay, so this is how an array is inside any programming language. It is only a concept, and every programming language implements array in one way or the other. Okay, so this is how an array is like. Inside an array, like suppose if you want to find out an element inside an array. So let's say you want to find out the third element. So which is my third element? This is my first element. This is my second element, and this is my third element. So my third element is -5, right? So if we want to find out if we want to find out the third element of the array, then we always write whatever number of element we want to find -1. So if you want to find out the third element of the array, then you will try to find out the element which is sitting at index 2. Okay, so in case of an array, the index always starts from 0. So this is the 0th element, this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third element, this is the fourth element, this is the fifth element, sixth element, seventh element, 8th element, and 9th element. So even though there are 10 elements present inside this array, we are always going to start our counting from 0. Okay, we are always going to start our counting from 0. So if you want to find out the first element of the array, it basically means that you want to find out the 0th element of the array. So 0th element basically means the first element of the array. Okay, that is what it means. So whenever you want to find out the first element, you have to find out the 0th element of the array. Okay, that is how it is like. Okay, so let's see in Java how we can create an array. To create an array inside Java, it is very simple. You just write the type of the array that you want to create. So if you want to create an integer array, we will write int, and then we will use square brackets like this, and then we will write the name of our variable. So suppose my array is equals to new int, and then after this you can write the variables that you can write the list of the numbers that you want to write. So like 1, 10, -5, 7, 4, 0, then -74, 10, 4, 6. Okay, this is how we can do it. So this is basically an array. Okay, this is an array created in case of Java. Okay, that is how arrays are created in Java. In Java, it is also possible to create an array by writing the square brackets after the name of the variable. So this is also the right syntax, but Java just wants you to write it like this. Java just wants you to write the square brackets just after the data type. Okay, that is something that Java wants you to do. But even if you write the square brackets after the name of the variable, that is also fine. But Java just wants you to write the name of the, sorry, write the square brackets just after the data type. This is an important thing to remember. There is no, I mean, execution wise, there is literally going to be zero difference, but it is just that Java wants you to write it like this. Okay, so that is what we know about arrays so far. At the time of creation of arrays, we must always remember that whenever we want to create an array in a programming language like Java or C++, then we have two options. Either at the time of creating the array, we add all the elements of the array, or we create an array and at the time of creating this array, we tell the programming language that how many number of elements will be present inside this array. So in this case, let's say that we don't know what elements will be present, but we know that at the maximum there are going to be 10 elements. So we can write something like this, new int 10. Okay, so this basically means that create an integer type array which can store 10 elements. Okay, so the index of this array will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that is what the indices available inside this array will be like. So I can write now my array, okay, and then I can write 9 is equals to, let's say, 10. Very simple. But if I write my array 11 is equals to, let's say, 55, this will throw me an error. So if I run this program, it will throw me an error at line number 10 because there are less spaces available. So you can see Java is throwing me an error by saying that exception in thread main java.lang array index out of bounds exception index 11 out of bounds for length 10. Okay, so this basically means that we are trying to access an element of an array which does not exist only because, and the reason why it does not exist is because it is out of the bounds, which basically means that we are trying to access an element which is not present in the scope of the array. Okay, or which is outside the length of the array. That is the reason why in Java, whenever we are trying to create an array, we have to always tell what is the size of the array. This is also true for languages like C++ and C. That is, whenever you create an array, you have to tell what is the size of the array. If you do not tell the size of the array, then either you tell what elements will be present inside the array. Once you tell the programming language how many number of elements are going to be there in that array, you cannot change it. So like, for example, if you thought that we created this array of size 10 and in the future, if we wanted to increase the size of this array, it is not possible without losing data. So, I mean, I can definitely write something like this. My array is equals to new int, something like new int 11. I can write something like this, but this will cause in losing all the data which is present in my array. Okay, so it is not possible for us to dynamically increase the size or decrease the size of the array. It is not possible in languages like C++ and C and Java. In other languages like JavaScript or Python, it is possible. In case of JavaScript and possible. To be very honest, it is also possible in languages like C++ and Java, but it is a different story altogether, which we will be trying to talk about in advanced Java that we will be studying by the time we finish this course. Okay, for now, you need to understand that in arrays, whenever we are creating an array, it is not possible to change the size of the array and without losing data. Okay, that is very, very much important. To find out the size or the number of elements inside an array, you can just write myArray.length. Okay, so myArray.length is basically going to return an integer. So like int length is equals to myArray.length, which is basically going to return what is the capacity of the array. That is how many number of elements this array can contain. So whenever we write .length, it is going to return us an integer, which will basically tell us the capacity of the array. Okay, so that is how you can find out the size of the array, or it is also called length of the array. Okay, so that is how we can basically find out the size of the array or the length of the array. Now let's talk about the advantages of array. So arrays allow random access to elements, which is going to make the accessing of elements extremely fast because we can access any position of the array at any given time. Okay, so arrays always have better cache locality. That makes a pretty big difference in performance. So if you are ever seeing a scenario of using an array and other data structures, then usually using an array will be better in terms of performance. Arrays represent multiple data items of the same time using a single name. So like I said, because arrays are going to contain a collection of items or a group of items, and they all can be referred using the same name. So that is also an advantage. One of the major disadvantage of an array is that you cannot change the size. It is not possible to change the size of an array because it is dependent on something called static memory allocation. So it is not possible to change the size of an array. So that was pretty much it from my side about the size of the array, or what we just studied. That is the concept of arrays and how we can talk about disadvantages and advantages of array. That was pretty much it from my side, and I will see you in the next one.